So are we competitive or what?
Well, Chan Gailey thinks we're competitive. He says that if we would have got that last touchdown where, boy, it's on the 1 yard line. Again, I wish they would have just handed off to Spiller. But Fitzpatrick throws it across the line, and the cornerback basically watches the whole time. He knows that's where it's coming. He made a nice catch, but he makes the interception. That was the fourth turnover of the day for the Bills.
Well, we'll get into it for a second, but it's pretty clear that an onside kick is maybe one of the lowest percentage plays that exist.
Yeah, and I tell you, if you go back over the Duran era, there was always, even back all the way back to when the Bills were bad, it always turned out that we'd be down by 2 touchdowns. We get a late touchdown, and then all our timeouts would be burned. And then if we could only get that onside kick and then score within those last 30 seconds again, we would have tied the game. Does that make it competitive, Chan? Let's listen right here what Chan has to say about it.
If we score there and get the onside kick, it's a competitive game. I mean,
I'll tell you one thing. I had to put a new toilet in at my house with my wife, and it seems like the Bills went right further down the shitter immediately.
I never felt any point of this game where they were actually competitive. Early, with this nice run by C.J. Spiller.
Well, let's go through the game. It started off, we blocked a field goal, and then nothing really happened.
I want to just mention that first drive, and I called in the Weiner line as I ordinarily do all the way through the game. They must hate listening to my tapes the next day because when I watch the game by myself, I have nobody to complain to. So I pick up the Weiner line, and every play I complain about how bad the referees are, how bad Chan Gailey is. But this was Wanstead's call. It's 3rd and 4. And it's early. We could get them a 3 and out. It's early in their first drive, and he goes to a 3-man rush. A 3-man rush. What does he really think those 7 guys are going to cover for 4 yards?
Right.
It's impossible.
Well, plus, what if this quarterback can move? He could have just taken off and gotten the 4 yards, and that would have been the end of it.
I know. Well, he didn't have to. He just needed a couple of seconds in time and just make a real easy 4-yard pass, and he got rid of it. And I don't understand. I think, for me, Wanstead is got to go. I mean, we got better players than last year, supposedly. They got a choice to pick and choose who they wanted. We cut our defensive coordinator last year for this guy, and statistically, I think they're pretty bad in almost every category. Worse. I mean, they're the worst in the points against. There was an article in the paper the other day about how we have a chance of making, out of the 5 worst defensive teams in the history of the Bills, this team is got 4 of the categories and has a chance of getting the 5th one, depending on how bad the Jets beat us next week.
Are we 6-9 or are we 5-10?
5-10. We have 5 wins.
So we'll be 5-11.
So we'll need to win one more game just to match last year's season.
And did Duran get fired? We were 5-11.
3-6. John got fired.
No, but I mean after it all shook out, were we 4-12 or 5-11?
I think they went 500 after he left. So. We might have had 6 wins in that one too. I think they went 6-10.
Either way,
but at the beginning of the year we said this is our year. We're going to make the playoffs.
Sure.
We're going to beat them. Today we had Pittsburgh lose to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati it's their 9th win, and they locked in a playoff spot with 9 wins.
Yeah, Cincinnati's in there.
Technically, if we would have had 9 wins this year, and earlier John Clayton, he's been saying every Thursday he's on GR55 with them, and he said, I think 9-6, maybe even 8-8 will make the playoffs in the AFC because it's so watered down. In fact, when the Dolphins won the game, they were still alive for a playoff game until Cincinnati won. If Cincinnati would have lost and everybody would have been tied at 8-8 next week, Miami would have had the tiebreaker and they would have been in. So they were still alive. So, just a couple of games, and maybe we're competitive, Chan. But why are we so far away though? We have 5 wins. We need 9. We're 4 games away, and we can pick out. We did that a couple of weeks ago. We can pick out a couple of plays here and there that we might have won those games and competitive. But the Bradys of the world, the New Englands of the world, they have 30 extra plays that they could give up and still make it. And that's where you're competitive, not where you're just trying to get to the top of the ledge and just barely make it. You get up on the ledge and you kick some rocks over on the people coming up below you. You have a lot of time. Here, the Bills aren't even close to that.
Well, and you look at it today, the Dolphins are, you might not, I hate them, but they are a little bit further along. They got that new coach,
I hate the
and they got a quarterback that might not be up there with some of these other rookies that have made us look like a terrible team. But he throws a nice ball. He can move. He's tall. He's big. He's better than Fitzpatrick, it seems.
Well, look at
and
that-
he's a rook, too, so
Look
it's
at
not like
that
he's been in the
30-yard
league 9
I
yards.
think 36-yard run. He got knocked out by Bird at the goal line. I mean, he fakes out this, what's his name, the 43, Scott. I mean, he should have been tackled an hour, behind the line of scrimmage, and he wasn't. And then they basically watched the Seahawks tape last week and saw what he did to us, and they said if he could run against us, why can't Tannehill? And they also mentioned today, I guess the owner says maybe this jersey one day will be in the Hall of Fame. Well, last week I wrote about the Seattle quarterback. I said, let's not get carried away and put him in the Hall of Fame just yet. But I said we tend to make quarterbacks look like Hall of Fame runners and passers. Last week we made that Wilson look like Frank Tarkington the way he was scrambling around.
Hey,
back there.
sure. Next week we're playing the Jets, and week 1, Sanchez looked better than anybody, and now he's probably won't even be on the Jets at the end of the year. So
he might not even
he didn't play today. They
Well,
lost
yeah.
to San Diego, and hey, what are you going to do? But as far as this game goes, and outside of the big picture where we all know the downfall of the team and the lack of, well, I don't know about lack of talent, but certainly at the quarterback position and the lack of coaching talent. The first score of the game, Reggie Bush, definitely not a touchdown. His foot was out of bounds. I mean, everyone from here to Japan could see that. But
Well, yeah.
the refs again.
The refs. I mean, I don't know what they're looking at. I still
You
it's-
see it.
It
It was
still amazes
on
me.
the line.
On the line, and you see the divot left because it's a grass field where it comes
Yeah, they
up.
talked about it on
The ref.
on the
I mean, it's clear
announcers.
that it was out of bounds, and they didn't see it. I don't know how two people could look at the same thing and see something different, but I keep going back to it. I know they're given such a big problem with all those replacement refs, but I don't think these refs are any better. And I could have anybody in there, they're going to make as many mistakes. And the bottom line is you have to overcome those. Even if it was a mistake, they're at the ball at the 4-yard, first and goal. They're probably going to score anyways. And Stevie Johnson, 2 steps.
Right.
2 steps, and then he falls
Full control
over
of the
line,
ball.
and then he hits the thing.
Even when he's through the air, as soon as he crosses
They're-
that line,
They're saying the rule is
touchdown.
you have to have a football move, and I think 2 steps is a significant enough football move with the
Right.
with the ball to constitute a running with the ball. After that, it would have definitely been a fumble.
Yeah, that's-
had it
well-
happened in there. If you take 2 steps with the ball,
yeah, if he wasn't touched and he hit the ground like that, that would have been a fumble.
no, even if he was touched. I mean,
Well, no,
oh,
just because the ground. Yeah, because the ground. But if he
ground
just would have,
falls, that's true.
if he just would have fell on the ground, that would have been a fumble. That wouldn't have been an incomplete pass.
And then later in the game, they got this kid number 42. What's his name again?
Oh, Doran Dickerson, who
Doran
hasn't been
Dickerson.
used most of the year, and now finally, even though he's fairly good, he always seems to be open. He fumbled that ball. That wasn't so great, but
Well, and I don't know if that was even a completion. They went over it again, and I was just watching the news a couple of minutes ago. The newscaster, I think Kilgore on Channel 2, was saying, yeah, it wasn't a touch, it wasn't a reception, and the refs didn't have a good day today. And this is another example of them having a bad day. But again, our tight ends both get hurt. First, Chandler makes a very nice catch early in the game, and then this kid ends up getting hurt. They carry him off in a stretcher. This
jeez.
Dick
Now we have
Dickerson.
nobody. You got Lee Smith.
Lee Smith, yeah.
Well, Chandler, I don't even know how he got hurt. He just kind of tumbled over. I mean, just one of those things. I bet it's only a sprain, maybe, but
Well,
you probably
yeah.
couldn't come back in the game.
I think when those grass fields, sometimes your cleats just get stuck.
Oh,
you
they
know?
say our field is one of the worst ones.
Well, they say the artificial is bad, the grass is bad.
It all depends on the
just-
day.
it's
Refs
just a
are good,
funky
refs are
day,
bad.
yeah.
And I will say, in defense of the refs, when it comes to these types of plays, it seems, and that Seattle Green Bay game early in the year, that was just like a fluke. And also, that could have, and it has in the past, just as easily happened with these refs. Some of the nuances of the game they're better at, the pass interference, some of that stuff. But when it comes, well, even that, you never know.
Well, then they sit there and they talk about what the rules are, and everyone says, is that really a rule? Today, Fitzpatrick
Suggestion.
goes like this to throw the ball, and because the ball's hit back here, he never really has, and he's got the empty hand, it's a fumble. Now, their quarterback, we hit the side of his arm and don't hit the ball, and because we hit the side of the ball when he's intending to throw it forward, even though it goes backwards into lateral, it's considered an incomplete pass.
Well, right, because
So tell me the reasons between those two. He's intending to throw this one forward. His hand even goes forward, and the ball even goes forward, but he had his fumble. Here, he's intending to throw it forward. They don't hit the ball. They just hit his arm, and it goes sideways or lateral. And it is a lateral and should be a fumble, and they call it
Who
an
cares?
incompletion.
I'm intending to throw a touchdown every play. I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah.
It goes where it goes.
I know.
And even if
You
he
shouldn't have to
just
think
would have
about that.
thrown it backwards, that would have been a fumble.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's two bullshit calls. But good teams overcome those calls. We didn't.
Yeah, we're not a good team. He's not
Spiller
playing
had a
as
good game. He had the big run, the 62-yard run
Career
here.
longest run.
It was good. It started off good, and
you always wonder why he gets caught from behind. You think nobody can catch him from behind. I guess you see this linebacker right here. He dives into his legs.
Yeah, and then the other
he just loses
cornerback.
his balance, and it gives the guy enough to catch up. Those cornerbacks are swift, and
Yeah, the cornerback 24
But
there
that was
was
the
pretty
longest
fast.
career run for Spiller right there, and it just shows you too how much Gailey is really screwed up this year by just not giving him the ball. You never know if he's going to get 1 yard -3 or a 63-yard escape
Right.
from.
I mean,
that.
today
You
it
never
was
know.
what it was. We were down, and no matter who you got, if you got to try it. I know there was instances, there were plays. There was one in particular in the first half where he went. What'd you say? He went for 5 yards on a first down.
Yeah. Oh, he goes for. There's a punt later in the game, and the guy, who's it, Randy Cross and Don Crickey were calling the game. Randy Cross says, here, you don't need to drive down to score. You don't need to have a big, long drive. You just need a first down. Just get a first down. Get yourself out of the end zone. And they hand off to Spiller, which was nice. He got 5 yards. The next play, as he's saying, we don't need a real long play. You just need to get a first down. He throws a bomb to T.J. Graham where he's double covered. And it's not even close to being reception. The next play, they go to this Dorn Dickerson on the sideline. It was Fitzpatrick and Dorn Dickerson again, and they had it pretty well covered and broke it up.
That's
and
like Rice and Montana right
yeah,
there.
and now we're punting from our own end zone, from the 1 yard line or something. And to me, those are the type of plays. I mean, and then another time we have the ball down at the 10-yard line. They decided to bring in my favorite player, Brad Smith, and run the Wildcat from 90 yards back. Why let him run the ball? And everyone knows he never hands off the ball. He just runs it. He doesn't throw it. And what about this? I don't understand. If the coaches are out there, I'd like to coach, but why isn't there a time where you just run up to the line, you look around, you see the defense is kind of in a disarray, and you got your guys lined up, and you say, okay, hurry up, let's just snap it, I'm going to throw it to you, without calling a play or anything. That happened. And they had the Wildcat in there, and Brad Smith was waiting for everybody to line up, and you could see Spiller clapping on the sideline. Nobody's covering me. No, just snap the ball. Nobody's covering me. And there was nobody covering the wide receiver. And there were just two guys wide open. All they do is snap the ball and throw it to him. They would have ran for 50 yards easy before somebody would even come close to him. But the Dolphins called timeout, and they got a chance to line up. So there's got to be some awareness. And I think all NFL teams are. They all came up to the line. Everyone's got to be perfect. Is everyone on the defense ready? Hey, Miami Dolphin player over there, are you okay? You ready? Wait, he's not ready. Let me see where he's going to go before Sometimes they're talking to each other. They're not even looking at the ball. They're looking over here. Why not just snap the ball real quick and just go for it? It's to me that's like a
Brad Smith.
Like last week that fake punt, and I don't know why we got 1,600 hits last week. Maybe it's because we were talking about the fake punt, but they said that was a call that when there's a certain lineup in there, we automatically do it. There's no thinking about it. It's a fake punt. If we get this lineup, and they must have saw something in the Bills film, we'll just call it. And the coach of Seattle Pete Carroll said, well, I forgot that was in there, and I didn't call it off, and they just played it. I didn't even make the call. It was like an automatic thing. And I don't know if it was an excuse he was making so he didn't do it. But I'm saying those are types of calls that should be in there. If something happens, like this one, Spiller should have been yelling, "I'm not being covered," whatever that code word was. Josephine or swordfish.
Yeah, well,
swordfish. I'm not being swordfish means snap the ball. No one's covering me. Throw it to me quick. That should be a play. That's in there. I couldn't believe it when they showed the replay. There was nobody covering.
Well, you're a fan of the NFL. You're a fan of the Bills. You watched football for your whole life. When it comes to these certain players, whether they're the most athletic guy in the world, there's reasons why they don't end up reaching that superstar status. It's not bad luck. It's just how it is. Brad Smith, he's not a superstar guy. He's not going to catch that. His football IQ is not going to notice that he's got two wide open guys, and if he just snaps the ball, closes his eyes, and throws it, someone's going to catch it because there's no one out there. There's going to be a touchdown. So he just doesn't know. He's not good enough.
He's got a nice touchdown here. Here's a touchdown pass that he caught.
Him
He
and
did catch
Fitzpatrick. Well, he did catch this touchdown and right at the end of the game. And I guess if we would have gotten that onside kick, it would have been competitive in the last 45 seconds or so, or whatever Chan Gailey thought. But that's what it was. And before then, well, I guess it really doesn't matter. We could go on to the other stuff and see how Tannehill can throw a better pass to Reggie Bush than our guys can throw the ball. But hey.
That was a nice pass.
That's what I wanted to talk about a little bit quick here. Just because you take a flyer on a rookie quarterback, you might as well. Don't second guess yourself. I feel like these, whether it's Gailey and Nick, they're too smart. Too smart. Feel that they're too smart. They outthink themselves and they make a stupid decision and leaving these quarterbacks out there. They
didn't want to pick that Wilson guy because he was too short. They didn't want to pick all the quarterbacks that were picked, but you had sat there earlier and counted all the quarterbacks in the NFL this year that are rookies. I guess this was one of the best classes since the Kelly Marino and Elway class. But, it seems like there's like 7 or 8 guys that have won a game this year starting. Right. One guy did it, 2 rookies on the same team. They picked 2 quarterbacks. What the hell made them pick 2 quarterbacks? You would think they picked RG3. Why would they pick another one? Here's a team, the Bills, the Buffalo Bills, and I'm wearing the Sabres uniform because they lost, but they need a quarterback, and they didn't pick one out of the deepest, richest quarterback. We're members of that Sunday morning quarterback club, and I asked the general manager the day after the draft, if Tannehill was still around, would you have picked him? I guess he didn't want to say that he liked him over Gilmore, but they really didn't come right out and say, I wonder if they would have picked him, if Tannehill was still there, if they would have picked him. But, it's clear
I feel like they may have.
But he makes this beautiful pass to Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush is on the 10-yard line when he releases this ball. We slowed it down. I'll slow it down to you right here and stop it and show you. He's on the 10-yard line when he releases the ball. And that ball's caught like 2 feet into the end zone. That's a perfect friggin' throw. I can't blame any of the coverage, really. I think that was right there. Sometimes you just get beat by a perfect throw. But I wish we had a quarterback to make that perfect throw.
Well, and he's going to be ahead of the game. And, hey, Fitzpatrick's made some, but his time has run out. He hasn't gotten better, so that's that. Next week.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Well, maybe we'll be singing it next week. I'll be at the game against the Jets. It's going to be the Toilet Bowl Championship of the AFC East, and we'll see what happens.